Hello, this is Sierra and welcome to another video. Today we're doing the next part of Hermitcraft Genesis. We are on book 5. Brian, if you can't tell from the title, not everybody can see what the title says, so might as well repeat it. But, yeah, I will be trying to read chapter 4 and 5. Maybe we'll get up to chapter 6. We'll see. But my aim is to get 2 chapters in today and keep it at, 2 chapters till the rest. This is a odd number 1. Unfortunately, I could find a way to make it even, but we'll see. Yeah, happy New Year. We are in 2025, and we still have captions available in the thing, and that has not changed. So yeah, you can read captions, and you can enjoy the show. And so will Dazzler. Yeah. The guinea pigs have a new cage, so I'm keeping an eye on them to make sure that everything's good. But yeah, it doesn't matter. Chapter 4. What did you do? Charlie demanded, lunging forward at the man. But Henry pulled him back, pushing the younger boy behind him. What does it look like, kid? We've come to collect what's ours. Yours? Stacy narrowed her eyes. She took a cautionary step forward. Wrong. Whatever. And what exactly is that? The man shrugged. I don't make the rules here. Brian watched in horror as more uniformed men appeared, some wearing the cause's uniform, others wearing uniforms he hadn't seen in months. Black, with blue stripes looping their wrists. Mr. A's uniform. But that couldn't be possible, could it? Mr. A was locked away, along with his nefarious brother, RJ. He couldn't possibly be here, or sent these men to school. Why would he? He'd never attacked it outright, only ever trying to slip in through the ranks, to corrupt and influence from the inside. Tony slowly rose to his feet, stumbling as he steadied himself. Several of the teachers stepped forward, pulling out their iron swords. I can't let you do that. Oh, but you will. The lead man sneered, narrowing his eyes. All the men shared the same stormy gray hue in their eyes. Same hunger, same rage. Something about it seemed wrong. The doctor requires more subjects, and we heard through the grapevine that there were willing candidates here. Brian sprung to his feet, Summer and Rain stumbling up beside him, as Tony took a step closer. Tony, don't! There's no point, one of the other men jeered. You either join us or die. Brian, get the children and the girls out of here, Tony said calmly. What about Tom? Stacy looked between the protector and the man lying motionless on the ground. Go! We'll hold them off as best we can, Tony insisted, turning and jumping at one of the men as one of the kids screamed. Come on, Brian said softly, grabbing Summer by the arm as the girl pulled Rain closer. Where? Summer's eyes were wide, yet trusting. Somewhere that isn't here, Brian said simply, as he pulled them along, spotting Henry pushing a few kids down the hall, Charlie glaring at the battle on the other side of this large room. Don't you even think about it, Henry scowled at the younger boy. What, getting in that mess? Charlie raised an eyebrow as Brian approached. The teen could hear cries behind him. Rain whimpering. Ah, what else? I said behind him again. Oh my goodness, I don't know, that's it. I'd be stupid to go in there. You want to, Henry snapped. Charlie glanced back over his shoulder into the hall. Brian cleared his throat, breaking the awkward silence. Where are Lizzie and Stacy? Heading to the bunker with the kids, Henry said calmly. You should go with them, Brian insisted. Someone needs to keep anyone from pursuing them, Charlie stated. Brian shook his head. We can blockade the door. Whatever we have to do. I'm not putting you two in danger by leaving you here. But we're helping, Charlie argued. Tom said if the need arose, we could help. There's a fine line between helping and being reckless with your life, Brian warned. You're no good to anyone if you're dead. Charlie gulped. What they? A scream filled the hallway as Brian let go of Summer's arm, bolting forward. Ahead, he could see part of the hallway. Wall was open, revealing a staircase that children were descending down, 2 by 2. His eyes widened when he saw the cause of the commotion, as 3 large uniformed men lunged at Stacy, who had her sword raised, defending Lizzie. Get downstairs, now! Brian shouted to the children, who were still standing by the stairwell. Horror-struck by the ambush as Stacy fell to the ground, grunting in pain. Lizzie screamed again, jumping out of the way of one of the men attempting to grab her. Brian extended his blade and thrust himself in front of her as the man charged again, managing to disarm him with a single swing. You really think a little swordplay is going to save you? The man sneered. Brian could see more men swarming in from one of the classrooms. Had they smashed through a window? It was a sea of green, brown, and black. He stepped forward. I'm not a coward either, the teen said boldly. I never said you were, the man smiled, showing his bright white teeth, which gleamed in the lamplight. You can't protect him any more than you can protect yourself. She will get what she wants. You can't stop her. I might not, but someone will. Brian lifted his chin. Sorry, too late for that. Stacy! Liddy screamed again. Her teen? That doesn't make any sense. Not what it says, trust me. The teen looked over just as growls filled the air. 2 wolves appeared instantly out of the air. Oh my goodness. Out of thin air. That works. Out of thin air, coming to the YouTuber's defense, tackling and tearing her attacker to pieces. Stacy gasped in surprise, sitting up as Lizzie pushed past Brian, coming to her side. Are you okay? You're not hurt? I'm fine, Stacy said gently, reaching for her fallen sword. Just as she saw the swarm of men closing in, she stumbled to her feet and grabbed Lizzie's arm. We need to go. Oh, you aren't going anywhere. The man turned around to the 2 women. We have unfinished business to attend to. We? Lizzie frowned as the men closed in. Brian! Charlie's voice called from behind. The teen whirled around, alarmed to see the men from earlier charging from the main room. 6 in total. Charlie was shoving Summer and Rain down the stairs. Henry right behind him. Come on, we need to go! I'm not leaving without Tony or Tom, Stacy said matter-of-factly. The uniformed man chuckled. There's no point. They're probably dead at this point. Lizzie gasped in horror as one of the men lunged from behind, grabbing her by the arm. She screamed, trying to slap him away. Brian lurched forward to her defense, just as something shattered behind him. A sharp pain pierced the back of his head. No! Stacy's face, Frank cried, was drowned out by shouts and growls as the darkness swallowed Brian. The boy fell onto the hardwood floor, seeing and hearing nothing more. The chaos around him. Chapter 5. Brian's head was pounding as he groaned, opening his eyes to the dim lighting. What time was it? Where was he? What happened? He blinked, assessing his surroundings. Bunk beds were pushed against the far wall. A window was barred with iron bars instead of glass. He was in a bedroom, one of the dorms on the 2nd floor of the school. He sat up, wincing as he rubbed his bruised arms and legs on the floor. The room was quiet. The hallway also quiet. He was alone. He reached into his pocket, trying to find his communicator, a tool, anything to help him. Each one was empty. Brian sighed. Do you expect anything more? At least the kids were safe, right? Brian closed his eyes, taking a slow, deep breath, trying to ease the headache that throbbed just behind his eyes. The window showed that it was late evening or early morning. He couldn't be sure. His blood turned as cold as ice when he heard a faint but familiar scream. He scrambled to his feet, heart hammering as he ran to the iron door that held him back, blocked from being able to help. "Lizzie! Where are you?" Brian cried, hearing another scream. It was coming further down the hall, to his right, farther from the stairs. "Lizzie!" What was he doing to her? Brian peered through the window, out into the hallway. It was empty, apart from a few guards standing in front of iron doors. Cells. The bedrooms had been transformed into cells. Men wore the cause's classic uniforms, their faces masked. You could only see their gray eyes, looking bored. One of them even sneered at him. "No one can hear you, boy," the man spat. "You're lucky that you weren't picked to be one of her experiments." "Who, Dr. Renstow?" Brian challenged. "What are you doing to Lizzie? Where's Stacy? Tony?" The man lifted his chin. "She promised we could do whatever we wished to those traitors. We handed over the children. She has no need of them." "Why? What did you do to them?" "That is none of your concern," a second soldier spat. "The only thing you have to worry about is what we'll do with you." "Me?" Brian tensed uneasily. "No doubt. The Jameses would do anything to save their friends." The first man snickered. "They truly care about any of you." "Why wouldn't they?" "Surely you know," the second man scoffed. "Samuel couldn't stand it here. It'd take long before he deserted you for that traitor. You should have left well enough to know. Then Liam disappears, and before you know it, is protecting another one of the traitor's friends." "Stampy is not a traitor." "How would you know? You've only heard it from one point of view." The third man smirked. "They're covering something, a dark secret, and clearly don't want you to know." "We do." "Right," Brian said doubtfully, hearing another scream as he flinched. This is how Sam felt when he had watched Stampy's sister be tortured in front of him. He wanted more than anything to rip the iron door off his hinges or stop whatever these men were doing. What do you even want with them? "Stampy has disappeared, and we need to find him," the first man said casually. "Disappeared? He's been gone for over a week now. We tried to make him pay in his world, but he gave us the slip when Rose decided to get involved." "Rose?" "Shut it! Don't tell him everything!" one of the men scolded. "What's he gonna do?" the first man shrugged. "We can tell him what we plan to do, and there's not a thing he can do about it. He can't call for help. Besides, he won't see his friends again unless they agree to our terms." "Which we haven't said yet," the second man stated. "We can't have him escaping until we deal with the YouTubers here first. I want a chance to play." Brian's skin crawled as he clenched his fists, lowering them to his eyes. "Leave the girls alone." "And what are you going to do about it?" the second man said smoothly. "You don't have an ounce of YouTuber blood in you to have the strength to bust through that door. And even if you could, we'd pin you down and make sure you regret it. Maybe we'll let you watch as we play with one of our new prisoners. That'll knock some sense into you." Brian scowled. "I'm not afraid of you." "You should be." The man narrowed his eyes. "Especially if Samuel and Liam decide their friendship with that feline is more important than your life. I'd rather die than be your pawn." Brian spat. The man only smiled. "Maybe both will come true. You never know. Time will tell." Another scream filled the hallway as Brian closed his eyes. He took a deep breath. How had he gotten into this mess? He should have been better at making sure Stacy and Lizzie weren't in harm's way. They should have been in the first tent of the bunker. Again, was the bunker even safe? The men knew where it was. The children had been taken. Charlie, Henry, Summer, Rain. So many more. Too many. At they been able to escape, or were they facing the horrible doctor he'd heard much about? What kind of experiments would they been talking about? Was it already too late? Moving on to chapter 6. Obviously, you would have known. Like my aim was chapter 4 and 5, but we're moving on to chapter 6 because we got some time. Brian rested his head against the school wall, trying to block out the cries floating through the walls. He could hear more than one voice, muffled and indistinct, but pleading. He closed his eyes and heard the occasional snicker from one of the guards. Their voices were low, so he couldn't eavesdrop. Not that it mattered. It wasn't either of his friends. Sam and Liam probably would have broken out by now and taught these men a lesson. Brian wasn't even half the fighter they were. Always better at potions, healing, helping people. Did that make him weak? Should we tell Trent to knock it off for the night? One of the men asked. Brian knew his name was Drew, from one of the other outbursts of hysterical laughter of one of his companions. It'd be no good if we let them die before Rob got his hands on them. Him? Oh, please, another guard snorted. Why did Carnivore put him on our team? He was at all the fun. Brian frowned, looking over at the cell door. That was a name he hadn't heard before. Maybe Sam and Liam would know, if he ever saw them again. Or Tony. Was he alive? Tom? The men had implied they hadn't survived, but why would they tell him the truth? He was a prisoner, nothing more than a tool. Just like Connor had been. Brian sighed. Connor had been more open to talking to him when Sam and Liam had disappeared. How he was worried about them, despite Mr. James assuring them both that his sons were safe. Sure, Connor hadn't been nice to him all the time, but deep down Brian knew Connor never intended to hurt him. Brian believed that, even if he never heard him say it. If only he were here to help him now. Tell him what to do. If only Sam or Liam or even Rose would come for a surprise visit. He knew better than that would happen. How would anyone know that they were in trouble? There was no way to send a distress signal. No way to go for help. Brian was on his own. Stacy and Lizzie were here somewhere. He had to find a way to help them. But what could he do? He looked around at his surroundings. Was there anything he could use as a weapon? A tool? Maybe a thin board to trigger the lever that locked him in his cell. His thoughts were interrupted when he saw a flash of light from his window. It was pitch black outside, clouds covering the starry sky above. First he thought it might have been lightning. Then the explosion was followed by a yelp and shouts of alarm. What's going on? Drew demanded, snapping to attention after the men had droned on and on about nothing. Brian got to his feet as his cell door slammed open. Boy, what's going on out there? Brian jumped, turning around to see the large burly man marching toward him. The teen took a step back, away from the barred window, as the man stalked over to it. Peering outside, Brian could hear shouts of alarm from below, followed by flashes of brilliant light. The burly man swore, whirling around to the young man. Did you have anything to do with this? The man scowled. What? Brian took another step back, glancing over at the door. Should he make a run for it? How far would he get? The man stumped closer to the teen, his dark eyes narrowing at him. He pulled out a communicator from his pocket. It was sleeker than the one Brian and many of the adults at the school carried. There was some sort of dark red border around it. Tiny light was blinking from one corner of the machine. Green. What did it mean? How's the situation downstairs? Not looking good. We're throwing all we've got at this, and the men keep going down. How many opponents? One. Pardon? There only seems to be one intruder, sir. YouTuber, I assume. The burly man cursed under his breath as he stepped in front of Brian. Do you recognize who it is? Is it the cat? No, sir. Not anyone I know. But he isn't happy. How did he find us? The man muttered, shaking his head before raising his voice. Well, stop him before he gets into the building. I'll have a team evacuate the prisoners immediately. Evacuate? Brian tensed. You sure that's wise? Conover said. I know what Conover said, but you would understand. We can't have these prisoners getting rescued before everything is ready. Copy. The man on the other end agreed. Good luck, Drew. Hopefully they don't give you too much trouble. What's going on? Brian inched backward, slowly edging his way to the door. Drew's eyes were locked on him, a scowl on his face. Why would you know? You little snitch. How could I snitch if I didn't have a way to? The communicators are disconnected. How does yours work anyway? Brian demanded. The man smirked, shrugged, cutting the call before putting the device into his pocket. If you're acting like your friends, you always find a way. Brian began to back up, glancing over toward the door. It was empty. There was no sign of the other guard. Had he gone downstairs to see what's the trouble? Who was even down there? How had they been found? Be glad we aren't interested in eliminating you yet, Drew stated, reaching out to grab Brian. Brian turned and bolted for the door, hearing Drew shouting for him to stop. He ran out into the hall, spotting two men further down, both in camouflage uniform. Brian charged forward just as something exploded downstairs. Footsteps pounded behind him. Stop that kid! One of the men lunged toward Brian, who managed to dodge out of the way. Making it to the other locked rooms. They'd been changed to iron doors, 3 in total. The doors were closed. There was no more screams. The only shouts he heard were from the men behind him or downstairs. Brian! A familiar voice gasped. The teen looked up to see a pair of green eyes peering through one of the cell doors. Stacy. She was okay. Before he could get closer to her cell, someone pounced on him from behind, grabbing him as Brian yelped, struggling against the arms that wrapped around him as the two tumbled to the ground. Got him! The man on top of the boy grunted. We need to get the prisoners out of here, Drew growled, his voice firm. The base is under attack, and we can't risk them escaping. Not yet. We're not going anywhere with you, Stacy said defiantly. I don't think any of you have a choice in the matter. Another man sneered, stepping into Brian's view. He wore large leather boots, which thudded against the hardwood floor. Brian heard the cell door click as the man pushed it open. Now, let's go. Can't make any of us go. You know it, Stacy said simply. The wolves are watching, and if you so much as... The man grabbed her by the arm as Stacy gasped in pain, trying to pull away. You really think we care about a few lousy mutts, woman? That won't be helping you where you're going. Besides, you made them leave. You were threatening to hurt my friends, Stacy insisted, her green eyes moving over to Brian. The teen helplessly watched as the man pulled her out of her cell. Get the other woman, the soldier snapped at her, his eyes moving to Brian. You get the other prisoner. The other prisoner? Brian blinked, uncertain. He was lifted to his feet as the man narrowed his eyes. Drew cleared his throat. If either of you try anything, we will not hesitate to take care of you permanently. Understood. Brian looked over at Stacy, nodded her head slowly, as the man holding her let her go. Brian watched as Stacy limped over to the cell across the hall and opened it. The woman gasped when she peered inside. What did you do to her? She refused to talk. She'll live. The man holding Brian snorted. So long as she cooperates. Stacy glared at the man for a moment before the soldier behind her pushed her forward. She disappeared reluctantly into the cell, reappearing a few moments later, holding a limp form in her arms. Brian gulped, almost not recognizing Lizzie. Her bright pink hair was matted and dirty, coated in dry blood. There were slashes down her arms, legs, bruises dotting her delicate face. Stacy looked small, holding her friend next to the third soldier. Now, you, Drew glowered, as Brian snapped back to attention. Trent, push him to the other cell. We don't have much time. The intruder will be up here any minute. Lizzie! A voice boomed from below as someone dashed up the stairs. Brian's heart skipped a beat. Joel? Stacy whispered, pulling the unconscious woman closer to herself. Her eyes flashed. Joel, we're over here! Be quiet, woman! The guard next to her snarled, shoving her toward the end of the hall. Brian turned and tackled a man, but Trent held him fast. Take the YouTubers you have. We'll hold him back, Trent said simply, nodding over at Drew as the burly man opened the cell door, rushing inside. Brian could feel Trent's vice grip tightening on his shoulder as the man whispered into his ear. You better hope he sinks before he shoots. Alas, it is the end of this episode. That's a good cliffhanger to end it on. Next week, or whenever I upload this next, we will go on to Chapter 7, and so forth, until the end of Hermitcraft Genesis, and on to whatever the next title will be. I have a temporary name for it, but I'm just going to write it, and then see if there's a better name that comes up. But, that's just how it is. Oh, yeah. I'm starting to work on the next story, so that's fun. I guess thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. And yeah, the link to the next episode, it will be in the description when it comes out. You can see the playlist as well if you want to watch what's up from there. You can get caught up. Unless you don't mind spoilers. I mean, if you watched this far in and you were spoiled, it's like, that's a new choice. That's definitely a choice. Let's just say it's a choice. But yeah, I'll see you guys next one. Whenever that might be. Goodbye.